Let Just Better Care provide the in-home support you need to live independently. Visit justbettercare.com today.
Welcome to the Just Better Care Wheelchair Access Podcast, Episode 2. We're joined today by Tristan Knowles, local Wollongong Rollerhawks champion. Welcome this morning, Tristan.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for having me here.
No problem at all, our pleasure. How's your morning been today? Started off with a gym session, or how's today working for you?
Yeah, no, day started nicely. Jumped out of bed nice and early and got a cardio session in, which having to do these days to try and keep up with the young kids.
Yeah, so always a busy morning for you. How's the sort of week looking like in training wise?
Yeah, well, things are really sort of ramping up for us at the moment. We've got qualifiers for the Paris Games next year in January, which will come around really quick. So lot of work to do between now and then to make sure we set ourselves up for automatic qualification.
We'll just start with a little bit of background about yourself and the Rollerhawks and your classification. So if you'd like to just give us a bit of a background about your disability and your level when it comes to playing wheelchair basketball.
Yeah, I guess my introduction to the Rollerhawks is the end of a bit of a journey, going through some tough things as a kid in the form of childhood cancer in my leg and a relapse later in my lung as well. But in terms of the initial diagnosis, that also involved an above-knee amputation of my leg. So, as you know, go through challenges can be pretty difficult at times, but if you come through the other side, I think you come through as a better version of yourself, having learnt some pretty important lessons. But for me, probably the most difficult thing was, in terms of overcoming the disability, was replacing the dream that I had as a kid of one day playing AFL footy, which I was absolutely convinced of that I would do, like a lot of kids.
Yeah, exactly. Most kids
probably
are,
do.
Yes.
But replacing that dream with something else that I loved just as much, and that came in the form of wheelchair basketball at the age of 15, and it sent my life in a direction that I never could have imagined or anticipated, but a direction that I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, exactly. And look, obviously we'll get into that, but in terms of your classification with the Rollerhawks,
Yep, so above knee amputation makes me a 4.0.
Yep.
And I guess for your listeners at home, why that's important is the 5 players on court can't exceed 14 points. So I take up a fairly big chunk of that, which means I need to be pretty useful, or try to be useful.
Got to be a decent player to do that.
Exactly, so. Yeah. But classifications range from 1.0 all the way up to 4.5 in 0.5 increments. So myself, 4.0, considered to be, fairly mobile. Got a lot of my core strength, and of course still the one good leg. Where opposite end of the spectrum, a 1.0 player would be a paraplegic, so someone that's got lots of function from about here down. So pretty challenging from a coaching and a selection perspective, working out what combinations of classifications are going to work well together.
Yes, definitely.
And obviously maths becomes a pretty big factor as well, being able to calculate taking one player off and putting another player on, and how that sort of works as a collective.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess, as you said, it's juggling the different abilities, but strength, we all know when we play sport, we like to have our best players on, but it's trying to juggle that as well, by the sounds of it, for the coaching team and then for yourself as well. So no worries. So we'll go back to, obviously, you said above knee amputation. So with the cancer diagnosis, so you were 9 years old, you said. So obviously that's a big adjustment for yourself and for the family at that time. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was always a really active kid. I was playing a lot of different sports. Any sport that I had the chance to go and try, Mum and Dad would find a way for me to be able to do that. AFL was my one big love. As I sort of mentioned, the dream was to grow up and play AFL for Hawthorn, but that door obviously closed. But at the age of 9, I began to get a sore left leg just above the knee. Mum took me to our local GP and At the time, it was just put down to a very common growing pain that a lot of kids at that age get when your joints and your muscles are growing. So we went away, and probably a couple of months later, it would take me about half an hour every morning just to get rid of stiffness in my knee. Mum was a nurse, so she knew something wasn't quite right. So she picked me up from school one day, we went back to our GP. GP agreed that it was probably worth getting some x-rays done. Had some x-rays done that same afternoon, and the very next morning we drove from Canberra, where we were living at the time, up to Sydney, and by late morning that next day I was being told that I had bone cancer, that I'd need to start chemotherapy pretty quickly, and that I would have to have my left leg amputated above the knee. So it was a pretty scary thing to be told at the age of 9. Even though to a large extent a lot of what the next 12 months would include was, I had no idea what was going to be involved in the next 12 months, but being told something like you're going to have your left leg amputated was terrifying.
Obviously, you've had a lot of different experience, but I think what you touched on, having that mindset, and it's how we relate to that, and obviously the things that you've achieved in your career, but also personally as well. It takes that positive attitude and to always look at the best and what we can achieve and what we can overcome, and obviously starting sport at such a young age as well, and having that mindset before the disability definitely has led you in good stead to get to where you are today. So obviously, touching on some of the things that you've achieved over your career, it's the endless sorts of achievements. We're up to 5 Paralympics teams now, so and 5 World Championships. So do you want to tell us a little bit about getting into the World Championship team or the Australian Paralympic team, and how that's come from where you were in the Roller Hawks to being on the international stage?
Yeah, I guess when you go through something really challenging, it's hard at the time to understand why this is all happening, but I can certainly reflect now and see all the things that it taught me, all the positive things that I'm really grateful for. And one of those is understanding that you pointed out before, life can be really unpredictable, and when you get an opportunity, it's really important to take it, because a second chance might not come around. So that was certainly ingrained in my mindset when I came across wheelchair basketball, and I think because I fell in love with it straight away, and I had so much fun playing it as well. It had so many aspects of why I loved Aussie rules. The team aspect is probably the thing I love most. It's quick. Things happen. 360 all around you. Can get pretty rough at times, which is fun. But I just enjoy the training side of it as well with teammates. So I guess I sort of decided from a pretty young age, probably 16, 17, that this was something that I wanted to, give a red hot go and see where I could go in the sport and become as good as I possibly could. And obviously, when you make those types of choices, you've got to make some sacrifices and be prepared to work really hard, often when no one's watching as well. So at the age of 18, I got the chance to move away from Canberra and away from mum and dad and move to Wollongong. And 2 things were important to me, and that was graduating from uni and my degree at the highest quality possible, but also making the team for the 2004 Athens Games. So I moved to Wollongong in 2001, and they were the only 2 things that occupied my time. So I was a bit of a nerd at uni, and sort of locked myself away in libraries and lecture theatres. But when I wasn't doing that, I was on court and in the gym, trying to, I don't know if it was the right approach or not, but I sort of worked out what the players ahead of me were doing in terms of training, and a pretty simple approach as an 18-year-old. I just thought, I'm just going to do that and do a bit more and do it a bit harder. And fortunately enough, I just scraped into that team in 2004, and that was the start of a career that I'm really grateful for. But there's certainly something inside me that just drives me to always want to be better.
Yeah, no, and look, I think that's the same with any elite athlete or anybody at the top of their industry, whether it be sport or in the business world. It's that wanting to do better and wanting to be better within yourself, but also in a team environment to lift those up around you. And making that team in 2004, seeing what others are doing. It's, how Djokovic has got to be number one in the world and continue to do better. He sees the young guys still coming up, and it's like, well, if they're doing that, I'm just going to continue to do a little bit better. And, having that longevity in a sport is something that, doesn't happen very often. And, being in 2004 and we're talking about 2024 Olympics next year, and you're still, looking at trying out for that and being part of that as well. Like, that 20-year career doesn't happen for many people unless they're at the top of their sport. So you're obviously doing something right, and managing that work-life balance as well. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you make that happen? I know particularly the disabled sport is not funded the best, and we see in some of the mainstream sports, like the women are getting a lot more attention and becoming better paid, so that they don't have to juggle 3 careers and trying to be an elite sport person at the same time. So how do you make that work in your life? It must be quite challenging and take up a lot of wearing a lot of different hats at different times.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I think so. I'm really grateful that I did get dragged into that elite sporting environment at the age of about sort of 16ish. And one thing in that elite sporting environment that I think all athletes get taught is the importance of around goal setting. So goal setting became something that I just became addicted to. I actually really enjoyed the process of just sitting down in a nice quiet place by myself and working out what I wanted to achieve, and then working backwards with a plan to get me from where I was to where I wanted to be. I think I've also learnt to really embrace that process of, when we get to that point in time in the future and it's time to sort of look back and reflect, I actually quite enjoy that process of self-reflection and self-assessment, which can be an uncomfortable process to go through. But for me, I think my teammates know I'm a pretty competitive person, and I don't like losing. But I have learned
a few games. See that aspect out on the court, which is great quality to have as well. So
yeah. But I think what sport has shown me, and certainly life as we get older, is that it's not possible to win every time, which was a hard one for me to accept. But it's true. So I think for me, whether it's sport or your career or relationships, I think it's sort of a little dangerous to apply labels of a win or a loss or a yes or a no. I think it's more important to look at things, I guess, from a further distance away. And the word I like to use is success. So what does success mean? And for me, it just means those points in time when I sit down and self-reflect. When you ask yourself those questions like, am I proud of myself? Is there anything I'd change? Did I do everything that I said that I would do? It's really important for me to be able to answer that question with a yes. I gave it my absolute all. That's become a really addictive process. I just like that idea of, particularly that period of the age between 18 and sort of 21, 22 of, moving away from mum and dad, and I sacrificed a lot during those 3 or 4 years to be able to give myself the chance to do well at uni and make the Australian team. And it taught me some pretty valuable lessons back then, that if I was prepared to work really hard and make sacrifices, then I could sort of go on and do whatever I chose to sort of pursue. So it's nice feeling like you're getting better and you're growing and you're developing, and that sort of 3-year period allowed me to apply those lessons for the remainder of my life so far.
And I think that's like a key point about measuring success. A lot of people think, if you don't win gold, or you don't come home the champion or the best, then you haven't succeeded or you've failed. And I think we need to remember, as people and just in everyday life, it's not about being at the top of the game the whole time. It's about doing the best that you can and knowing that you put everything in. And I think in terms of people with disabilities, we often see that, if you're not in this team, or if you're not working, then you're failing. And it's like, well, no, like, some people's disability doesn't even allow them to get out of bed in the morning. So it's setting those achievable goals, and if you're working towards those and knowing that you've done all you can to get to that point, then you have succeeded. It's not about being flashy, and obviously over the last year you're used to winning, but obviously the last year I'm 7th at the World Championships, and unfortunately losing the National League basketball this year as well, instead of getting 4 in a row. It's like you can't always win, but some of those losses are still fresh at the moment. So how do they sort of sit with you currently, like now that you've had a few months to reflect back on those, and where you are sort of looking forward with the upcoming basketball Olympics and things like that?
They don't sit very well. But that's it's not possible to go away and win every single time. Like I said, it's hard for me to accept that, but that's how it is. I think it's as you sort of get a little bit older and you have done it for a little while, you become a little bit better at using those setbacks to sort of set you up for success the next time. It certainly makes me very driven, because it's not nice feeling those losses, and it's certainly really great being able to share with your teammates those times when you do go all the way. But yeah, they're the things that make me sort of do the little extra things, get out of bed at 6 in the morning and go and do the training sessions before work, and squeeze in extra sessions on a weekend. You sort of, every time you find yourself thinking, oh, I don't need to go and do that session, you sort of think back to the fact that we are 7th in the world, which is not where we want to be at. And we had that National League tournament during the year where we fell short in the grand final. So I don't know if it's a matter of thinking about how you felt in those moments, or you're looking at the guys that did win and how enjoyable that looks. But yeah, you try and roll all that into a little ball to keep you motivated, because once you get a taste of that ultimate success, you want to keep tasting it.
That's right. And look, obviously you're not doing too bad. You've just won, come off the win in the New South Wales State League, and MVP for yourself as well. So at 40 you're still doing well and competing with the younger guys that are up and coming. And I guess now that Paralympics and the sport is getting more TV coverage, and more people with disabilities are being seen in the media, in particular in sport, there must be a few young guys and girls coming up and challenging yourself for those positions. But I guess as a leader over so many years and your experience, how do you, I guess, mentor them or speak to those guys about the challenges and I guess looking forward, we don't want to say your career is coming to an end, but I guess those next steps, like where do you see yourself?
Yeah, I'm certainly in the twilight stages of my career, which I'm actually really enjoying. It's making me really appreciative of trips away and spending time with teammates and being able to compete. So I'm certainly enjoying that. I certainly want to, if I have control of it, go out on top. That'd be a sort of a fairy tale story, and I know it's not always possible, but I am doing the things that I feel I've got control of to put myself and the team in that position. And I think it's an exciting time for the sport in our country. We've got a new head coach in the form of Brad Ness, who was an absolute phenomenal leader for us as a captain when he played, and led us to multiple successes. So the impact that he's had already, and I guess the idea of the success that he was able to achieve as a captain in a coaching role, I think is really, really exciting. I look back to the early stages of my career in the Aussie team. I had a huge amount of help from multiple different people to allow me to have the career that I had, and I think being 40 years old, it's one of those periods in life where you look back and you look at the things that were really instrumental in what's allowed me to go on and achieve what I have, and it's sort of very easy to overlook the help that you got early on and how significant that actually was. So yeah, I'm actually really enjoying getting around some of the younger guys and passing on some of the things that I've learned over the last sort of 25 years, and hopefully that allows them to become better versions of themselves, and ultimately it benefits the rollers team and the sport in this country. So hopefully we can get rid of that seventh in the world and get back to the podium where we think we belong.
Definitely, and I think you will. Like obviously, hard work pays off. So, in terms of what's coming up for you guys, you've got the Slam Down Under tournament in Wollongong coming up in November, and would you like to talk just about the rest of the year and early next year? What's planned for yourself, the Roller Hawks, and I guess the Australian team?
Yeah, so the most immediate thing on the radar in middle of November is the Slam, which we as a club are really proud to be able to host, which is good. A little bit different for us because we're actually going to split our Wollongong Roller Hawks team into 2 teams, which is what we did for the New South Wales Waratah League, which...
healthy competition.
We'll stay healthy, we're a very, very competitive club.
Yes.
Which has obviously allowed us to achieve what we had over the years. But that's obviously the first thing on our radar, which is a nice little lead up. We've got qualifiers for the Paris Games in January next year, which is just around the corner, and that's become a lot more difficult now because up until now it's always been 12 teams that have qualified for the Paralympic Games. It's now being reduced to 8. Which means we only see now 1 guaranteed spot in our zone go through. So we will have to win our qualifying tournament to go through automatically, which will not be an easy feat because we've got the likes of Japan, Korea and Iran, who are all top 12 teams in the world. That's going to be incredibly difficult, with the second place team getting a second bite at the apple, and they'll get to go to a repechage tournament in Europe.
Why is that become about? Like, is it just to build up more healthy competition, or to make it, I guess, tougher, or how come they've reduced the numbers? Like, do you know? Or?
Yeah, it's even with 12 teams, it was always tough. There were no easy games when you get to a Paralympics, but I think it might have something to do with the International Paralympic Committee only has a certain amount of athlete spots for games, and as we've seen in the Olympics and Paralympics, each sort of 4 years they trialled new sports and different sports, and that's led to having to eliminate 4 teams from the men's wheelchair basketball. So it's going to make it incredibly tough to get through. But yeah, the ultimate prize is Paris 2024 in August next year.
Fantastic. It would be, I'm sure you guys will do all you can, and hopefully, fingers crossed, to make it there. And that would be your 6th Olympics, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's unheard of. Like, even able-bodied athletes, like, getting to 1 is an achievement, but 6 is just mind-blowing. There wouldn't be too many more people that have equalled or done that in any sport across any abled or disabled sport. So that's crazy.
Yeah, I got out of bed feeling pretty good about myself this morning, Jason. We're talking about how old I am and how long I've been doing this.
No, I think that's a credit to yourself. Like, that's just unheard of to somebody to be at the top of their sport. And it goes back to the start, that mindset and having that family support, and then through the different leagues and clubs that you played for. Like, we don't get to where we are in life without people building us up and supporting us. So, it's a credit to yourself for the work you've done, but the organisations around you as well. So.
Yeah, no, I think ultimately I was fortunate enough to find something that I loved, which I think is important for everyone to be able to do. Find things in life that you're passionate about. So yeah, I've certainly loved the sport. I don't know why, but I'm one of those individuals that just loves the training side and the preparation side of it. I don't know if I was dropped on my head as a kid or something like that, but I love the grind. We talk about that thing called the hurt locker, where you're in that sort of zone where your heart rate's through the roof and every part of your body's burning and you're covered in sweat. For some reason, I love that. It's probably allowed me to, I guess, keep the body in condition to not just compete at the top level, but put myself in a position where I can sort of be able to contribute to team success. And I think, yeah, you sort of couple that with what I went through as a kid and understanding that, you don't always get second chances in life. I was lucky enough to get one, and yeah, I guess the help that I had when I first started the sport in terms of being exposed to what it takes to be the best, and people teaching you how to train. It's something you take for granted, how to train, but I had, some of the best players that I looked up to, in Justin Everson and Brad Ness and Troy Sachs, who were some of the best players in the world when I first started, and they sort of took me under their wing and showed me what it took to be the best, and I loved what they showed me, so being able to apply that since, and hopefully we can go out on top in Paris.
The fastest I've gone so far is about 32 kilometers an hour. Downhill with a tailwind, blind luck on my side. I think having Just Better Care personnel in my life has been a great benefit. It just makes me feel more confident. My wife has to do a lot of my work for me. It's nice that she can tell someone, will you do this for my husband? It takes a little strain off her. Yeah.
Going back to, when you first had your amputation and that, you've just been appointed to be a mentor for other amputees at the Port Kembla Hospital. Obviously, that's a fantastic opportunity for kids going through the same thing to receive the knowledge from somebody who has been there and done that. So would you like to talk a little bit about that position and what that means for you and how that's going to work?
Yeah, so I guess the thing that sort of drove me to do that was sort of looking back at my own situation. I was obviously pretty down in the dumps when I first had my amputation and didn't know whether I could still have a normal life. Stupid things as a 10-year-old, I was wondering if I'd ever have girlfriends or not. I look back, and the thing that helped me, the single thing that helped me the most was my doctor organised for one of his former patients to come and visit me in hospital. So I would have been sort of 10 at the time, and this ex-patient was about 13, 14 years old, so I thought he was pretty cool. When he rocked in wearing his leg, he came in with his girlfriend as well, and just being able to sit with him and ask him all the questions that I had sort of swirling around in my head, and getting honest answers from him. And I think just essentially being able to see someone a couple of years further down the track that had been through what I was going through, and from what I could see, he looked pretty cool and looked like he was doing all the things in life that I had question marks over. That was, I spoke before about those things that you look back at and you think, geez, that was a really significant part of my life, and that was one of those moments. So I guess it's taken to when I'm 40 years old to do that myself. So I wish I'd done this a lot sooner, but to sort of fill in the blanks between 10 and 40, I've spent a lot of time overseas. Playing basketball as well, and lived in Melbourne just recently for a 10-year period, sort of setting up my professional career. And now that I'm back in Wollongong, I've been back in the Gong now for 18 months, and I like to sort of say that I'm home now. I'm sort of doing all those things that I've always wanted to do, and being able to mentor other people that are going through now what I went through has always been something that I've said that I would do. So it's really exciting, and looking forward to hopefully having the same impact that my doctor's former patient had on my life.
Yeah, look, it's a fantastic opportunity, and I'm sure the Port Kembla Hospital are grateful to have someone like you on board, and particularly the patients at the beginning coming through there. And you've done so much in your career, and I think the way social media is helping now anyway, we're seeing a lot more representation, both through Instagram, Facebook, but also in mainstream media and that as well. So although you may have waited till now to do the hands-on role, like yourself just being out there and in the community and across Facebook and Instagram and all of that, like it's showing people, as you said, when you had your injury, and the same as mine in those 90s, there wasn't social media, so you didn't see that sort of thing. So having someone come in and talk to you about what you can do, and a couple of years up down the track and that does help, and it's going to be a great help now. But we didn't have that the media to help us get those I guess examples of what is achievable or what you can do. So you've been doing it your whole career, but I'm sure the patients are going to be mind blown by some of the stories you're going to be able to tell them of what you've achieved. So that's fantastic, and it can only help everybody going through it. So that'll be a great job. Obviously, for the role, was there any particular training you had to do for it, or just going to be like today, just to tell us about your experience kind of thing? So
yeah, I went into it probably a little bit naive. I thought it was as simple as hey, I'm happy to do it, here's my phone number, give me a call when you need me to come and speak to someone. But a lot more involved than that. There was 2 full days training at Port Kembla Hospital. A lot of focus on I probably take for granted I guess the mental strength that I've got from going through that myself, and I guess what elite sport has taught me, but a lot of it, and rightfully so, is just making sure that you're equipped to potentially have some pretty hard conversations with people that potentially are not doing well with what they're going through. A lot of focus on it being okay for me to understand that I might not have all the solutions for someone, but essentially just being there to be able to talk to them and listen to them. And I think it's really important for someone like that to be able to ask questions that they've got in their mind to someone that's actually been through it before. I think it's as simple as being there to listen and answer their questions, and being available to them on that journey, because it can be a long journey for some people to get through.
Definitely, and it's being as you said up front about it, we don't have all the answers. I know in my profession, and also being a person with a disability, it's like what's right for me doesn't mean it's right for everybody else, and we've all got the different experience and different knowledge we bring, but it's being open that this was my experience doesn't mean that it's going to be the same for you, but this is what I did, or this is how I overcome some of those things. But as you said, when you were going through it as a 9-year-old, we were seeing someone that's further down the track, that's like, okay, you can get there. Like, it may have 1 hurdle, we may have 6 hurdles before we get there, but you can see the light and know that it is achievable. So but look, obviously it's been great to chat with you today about your background and where you are from back then to here, and the amazing things that you've achieved over your career. And obviously we look forward to watching you next year, and hopefully at the Paris Paralympics, and further down the track as well. We don't want to say goodbye to you on the national team, but obviously on the Roller Hawks as well is exciting things ahead for 2024 and beyond.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, can't wait for it, and always nice chatting with you.
No worries. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Let Just Better Care provide the in-home support you need to live independently. Visit justbettercare.com today.